Hi everyone, welcome to our event. This event is brought to you by DataTalks.Club, which is a community of people who love data. We have weekly events and today is one of such events. If you want to find out more about the events we have, there is a link in the description. Go there, click on this link and check everything we have in our pipeline. Then do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. There is this button. When you click on this button, you will get notified about all our future streams like the one today. And last but not least, we have an amazing Slack community where you can hang out with other data enthusiasts. During today's interview, you can ask any question you want. There is a pinned link in the live chat. So click on this link, ask your questions, and we will be covering these questions during the interview. Okay, this week we'll talk about the secret sauce of data science management. And we have a special guest today, Shir. Shir is a data science group manager at Intuit in the United States. She is working on developing machine learning and deep learning models for document intelligence for products like TurboTax and QuickBooks. Welcome, Shir.
Thank you, Alex. It's great to be here. Should I call you Alex or Alexei?
Alexei. Well, some people do call me Alex, and I'm used to that. But my mom would never call me Alex.
Okay, so thank you, Alexei. I'm glad to be here with you guys. Sorry about the technical issues.
Yeah, we always have these technical issues. Anyways, so I think we should start, right? But before we go into our main topic of the secret sauce of data science management, let's start with your background. Can you tell us about your career journey so far?
Yeah, sure. So I studied electrical engineering. I did my bachelor and master's in that topic in Ben Gurion University in the Negev of Israel. And since then, I worked in 2 startups as a data scientist, an algorithm developer. And 5.5 years ago, I moved into Intuit. And then I took a leadership role. I've been to Intuit Israel for 5 years, leading and growing a team, developing AI solutions for security, risk, and fraud, and smart products. And about 7 months ago, I relocated to the Bay Area, which we don't have electricity in large part of at the moment, and to take on a new leadership position, leading a team that is focused around document intelligence. Basically, the mission of my current team is to use computer vision and NLP methods to extract and classify information from any financial document that is uploaded to a system in order to simplify tax submission and small business management for our customers. To save them time, basically, to take the heavy lifting of all of the financial hard work they have in their life.
Just curious, did you happen to serve the army in Israel? Because we had another guest from Israel maybe more than a year ago, and I think she was some sort of pilot. So that was pretty interesting. So did you need to do anything like that? Did you need to pilot anything?
Yeah, I actually served for 3 years in the army. I was a pilot instructor. It's interesting what you said, but I was a pilot instructor in a flight simulator. So
That's
basically,
an interesting coincidence.
Yeah, I trained pilot for helicopters for Black Hawks and Stripper Stallion.
Was it useful for your career afterwards?
Wow, definitely. I've learned so much from the Israeli Air Force. The Debrief culture really helps me in really developing a growth mindset. And also, being a pilot trainer really helps you be a good leader and a good mentor for your team.
Which is, I guess, quite related to the topic today, right? So what is this debrief culture?
Definitely.
What is this debrief culture? What is it?
So basically how it works, every time a pilot goes onto a flight in the sky or in this flight simulator, they look at their lessons learned from previous flights in the simulator or on air on the helicopter. And they take 3 things they want to focus in this flight. And after they get off the flight, they debrief, retrospect on what happened in that flight and what are the 3 things they want to work on for the next time. So that's something I've really taken to my life, because this is really the best way to get better, to just keep on learning from experience, keep on marking the areas where you want to focus at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just want to make sure I understood it correctly. So before the flight or before doing something, you think of what are the 3 things I want to focus on in this flight project, whatever, right? So you think about these things in advance, then you try to focus on, and then after the flight or after the project, after the thing, you do a retrospective and you think, okay, what are the 3 things I want to improve based on the experience I just had? Is it correct? Correct summary?
Yes, it's a correct summary. And the 3 things that you focus at are usually things that you noticed in the past that you should do better at.
Mm-hmm. So it could be like better navigating the helicopter, right?
Yeah, it could be better navigating. If it's specifically in the simulator, so we are working on how they handle emergencies on air. For example, if the tail rotor is now malfunctioning and the helicopter starts spinning around, so how fast did they reduce the power, and how fast did they react with the pedals? And also things about teamwork, how much did they listen to their co-pilot? So many things like that. I think my computer is back, so I'm trying to connect to Zoom. Let's see.
Let's try.
But
if the computer is back, probably internet should also work. Doesn't mean it will, does it?
Yeah, I'm taking it from my phone. Yeah, can you see me?
Well, I see that you're trying to get in.
Recording.
Oops. Looks like you're in.
Hi.
Nice to see your face. It's and the sound quality is better now. Over the phone, it was a bit.
Sorry about that. I also have a feedback in the house because we don't have school today because the school doesn't have electricity to. Yeah, so.
I see.
You would think you would have better infrastructure in the Silicon Valley, right?
Than in Israel? Why?
Than in anywhere where it's
not. Because like all the IT companies are there and they need electricity, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe they have like backup generators or whatever. Because Google, I think, YouTube still works. Although probably the servers are not in the Bay Area, right? For YouTube. It's too expensive probably. Anyways, so we stopped at the debrief summary, right? Debrief culture. And what I wanted to ask you next is, what do you actually do as a group manager? What are your responsibilities?
So I am a manager of 3 teams. So basically I have team leads that lead those teams. I also manage a couple of ICs. And it's the group manager role is basically to define the strategy for the whole group, to plan ahead, look 1 year, 3 years ahead, see, what is the vision, where we want to get, find the right things we want to focus at as a group, what is the right direction from research, what are the things what are the metrics we would want to look at, what does success look like for our team, and of course also make sure we're building a high-performing group by mentoring the managers, as well as reviewing what the team is doing, what we are delivering, setting the standards, working with the leadership team to make sure we are delivering the highest standards. Yeah.
Okay, that's quite a few things. So you're managing the managers, and you mentioned ICs. I guess these are people on the staff or principal level, right? So you are a manager of managers. Then you also take care of the strategy for the entire group when it comes to data, I guess, like what exactly you want to achieve in the next couple of years. So you need to know a lot about management, right? To manage managers. So what does it mean to be a successful data science manager?
So I, as you know, I gave a talk about that, about
That's exactly. So that's actually like the story is, it was PyData Berlin, right? And I think I saw your talk there, and I reached out, and it's been 1 year since then, and we finally managed to be on the same call and discuss that. But yeah, sorry for interrupting you.
Yeah. So I think that when you say what is success, you always need to have a measurement for that. So I think the two things I focus at is how much we are able to deliver impact for the business. So this is one aspect of success. And the other aspect is the growth and engagement of the team members. So these are the two things I measure myself by.
Mm-hmm.
And
so
also
growth of the business and growth of the people, right? So
yeah.
Two aspects, business and people. Mm-hmm. And what kind of metrics are there? I guess for business, it could be like usual business metrics that we look at like for the product, right? So because we use data science to improve the product. But what about the second aspect, the people? So what kind of metrics do you look at there?
So luckily, because we are at a big company, we have what's called a pulse survey. Basically, that's a survey that's done every 6 months. And that's, that's not everything, but that's actually measures at least one aspect of that. It measures, for example, the engagement of the team by asking different questions, all the team members. So that's one very easy measurement you can look at. It also have other questions. So you can also, there's also something called manager score, which also measures different aspects of management, like giving recognition, giving guidance for the team, providing feedback. All of those things are measured and combine this, what we call manager score.
So you ask the people who these managers manage, what do they think about their managers, right? And then they give some feedback, like do they feel that they receive enough guidance, they receive enough feedback, they have all the resources they need to be successful at their job, right? And then I guess this is anonymized, right? You don't.
Yeah, so this survey, it's just a survey. It's through this app, this company called Glint that they do it, and it's all anonymized. And we just get the aggregated scores for our teams. The team can also provide comments, but I don't have access to the comments. You need to have, I think, like at least 50 people to see all the comments. So like, the VP or director would have the access to all the comments, and then they can direct me to comments they think may be relevant to my team.
So in this case, to call a data science manager successful, we look at two things. Business metrics, if the team is, delivering on their OKRs or whatever framework they use for setting goals, if they deliver on the goals, and they have impact, they show impact on business metrics. And second is, how did you call it? The management score, the manager score, right? And
yeah, so
if these two things are good, then we can call the manager successful.
Well, it's not just that, and it's not just the manager score, it's also the engagement score, because as I said, one of the roles of the manager is to make sure the team is engaged. So it's not just directly through the manager score, but this is not the only way I would measure my managers. I would also look, at the feedback I just get from their team. I am doing skip levels with their team. So there are multiple aspects. This is just a part of it. Yeah.
Okay. And in that talk that you mentioned, the data talk, you talked about the 3 pillars of data science management. Do you remember what these pillars are, or this is what we already talked about just now?
Yeah. So we have managing up, managing across, and managing below. And actually, I want to add something more. We have the Intuit Leadership Playbook, which I think it's also really helpful. So they also define kind of 3 pillars. It's not exactly parallel, but it's also an interesting way to look at it. One is lead with a clear vision. The second is drive winning results. And the third one is build a high performance culture. A high performance team, high performance culture. So I think these are all kind of related to the things we talked about, just a different way to frame it. Yeah. But when you talk about managing up, across, and below, I think this is more about how do you achieve all of those things we just mentioned, leading with a clear vision and driving winning results. So this is more of the practice.
So what is managing up? What does it mean?
So managing up is how you work with your leadership team, with your manager, with the manager of your manager, to kind of give them an understanding of what is your vision of your team. Share with them the success of your team, the requirements for your team to be successful. Maybe you need their help, maybe you need more resources. It's a lot about educating them about the accomplishments of your team, because if you don't share with them the successes of your team, how would they know, right? This is the role of the manager. And if they won't know, what would be their motivation to invest further in this team? So this is managing up.
What happens if we don't manage up? What happens if we don't manage to, tell how good our team is? Well, what can happen? What can go wrong?
Yeah, it's like that saying, if a tree falls in the forest and no one hears it, did it fall even? I think it's kind of similar to that, because if you don't get the backup from your leadership, so how would you be able to grow and get more impact and improve? And also, it's also true for one's career. And I also encourage my employees to do that for themselves. And I try to do that for myself. Try to list your own accomplishments and share it with your manager, because your manager, they don't see everything you do. So to be recognized, you need to help your manager recognize you.
I think I heard about a concept called the brag document, where you brag about all your accomplishments. You say, okay, in this quarter I did this, and this, and then you have this document, and then you can share this document with your manager, and then the manager will realize how valuable you are, right? Maybe they don't know all the details about all the work you do, but with this brag document, you help them know about that, right? And so in this instance, we talk about managing up from me as individual contributor to my manager, right? But then it also can work up even more, from the manager level to the group manager level, or head of data science, or whatever, to the manager of managers. And this is what you're talking about, right? When you mean managing up.
Yeah. And also find opportunities for your team to share their work with leadership. That's also very important. So leadership would understand, the impact and also the complexities of the things we deliver.
What kind of tools can we use for that? What can we do for that?
So we have regular, we call it site visits or tech reviews with the upper leadership. So we need to make sure that our team gets a slot in this. And myself, as a group manager, I'm not a frontline manager, so I also do those tech reviews with my team members to get to know what they're working on and to see if I have some directions to them, to get an opportunity to ask them some questions. And
Mm-hmm. So at the end, it's like a meeting where we have the management and the actual people who do the work together in the same room or virtual room, where the employees talk about their accomplishments, right? What they did so far, how successful the projects are, and then the management kind of learns about all the complexities and all the things.
Yeah, it's mainly focused around projects. So when we get a project at a certain milestone, I ask, the managers, should we do a tech reviews on this? I would like to learn about this, and this, and then we kind of set the tech review, they prepare something and present, and then we have a discussion.
So like in practice, it could be just a Zoom meeting, or like depending on the setup of the team, the Zoom meeting or just a meeting, right?
Yeah, and we have a regular schedule for that. Once a week, we have a tech review or a design review.
Do you do anything else apart from these meetings? I don't know, like maybe some sort of email with summary of all the accomplishments, or not really?
No, that's what I do with my team members, but we have similar forums with the upper management that we do every few months. We present to them something. Yeah,
okay.
I actually tried in the past to do kind of accomplishments email. I did like a newsletter of what the team does. And I think, it's small companies, it may be a good idea to do that, to give, in a startup, that's really helpful to give the rest of the departments understanding of what data science AI team is doing. I think that in a big company like Intuit, we have a lot of data science teams. So it's a little bit challenging to actually read through those things. Yeah.
How many teams are there? Do you even know?
Wow. So when I joined, we were like a few dozens of data scientists at MLE. That was 5.5 years ago. We're just building up this organization. Right now, I think we have a few hundreds of data scientists at MLEs, and this organization has also been unified with the organization of the data analysts and data engineers. So the entire organization has like 1,500 people, data analysts, machine learning engineers, data engineers, data analysts. So, and many of them do work around AI.
So it's very hard to keep up with everything that is happening.
Exactly.
Okay, so we talked about managing up, which is letting your manager or the manager of your manager, or when you are a manager, the upper management, to know what exactly your team is doing and what are their accomplishments. What about like the other two things you mentioned, managing down and managing across? What are these things? Let's start with maybe managing down, or we call it managing below. What is it?
Yeah, so managing down or managing below basically means, similar things to build a high performance culture is doing everything that consists of the manager score, if you are a manager. So defining the expectations for your team, providing them the training, the resources, giving them the feedback, the recognition, making sure they get the guidance they need from you, making sure people are getting a growth opportunities in their role. I think all the aspects of building a team, making it successful.
So I guess the tools you use here are like performance reviews, setting goals, and all these things, right?
Yeah, definitely. We're setting goals. We have weekly one-on-ones. We have monthly check-ins in which we review the progress of the goals they set to themselves. And, as I mentioned, we provide feedback. That's really important. We provide recognition of things.
How does it work? Like, do you like these goals that you set, and you said like you have this monthly check-in meeting. How do you set these goals? Like, what kind of framework you use for setting these goals, and how often do you do this?
So we have a year level goals, which we update sometimes according, if there's a shift in priorities, they might be changed a little bit. But we do a goal setting session in the beginning of the year. It starts
with each person individually or with the team?
No, I did something with the entire group, but in the company it goes, because it's a big company, you have a lot of levels of hierarchy. So it starts, with the most upper levels, the directors, the VP, they set their goals, and according to that, the managers set their goals, kind of in alignment of the roadmap. Yeah, and then according to that, the teams, the team members define their own goals in collaboration with their managers. So basically, we tell them, okay, we share our goals, which are more high level, and then the people, according to what they think they should be doing for the business, and also what they think they want to focus at from their development, from their personal development, they set their goals, and then they get feedback from the manager. And we always try to set goals which have a timeline, and also some metric that we can measure them by.
Okay, so your manager has goals, then you look at these goals, and what you need to do is, based on that, it's probably some sort of VP, right? So based on their goals, you need to define goals for your group, right? And then you have the goals for your group, then perhaps you have some personal development goals too. And then your managers who report to you, your team, they look at your goals and think, okay, like which of these goals make sense for me? And then they break them down for each team. Each manager does the same work as you did, right? So they come up with the goals for their own teams, and then eventually each person in their team does the same thing, right? And then this is how they end up with individual goals. Is it correct?
Exactly, you got it just right. And we even have a system in which all of those goals we are able to align those to each other. So if people in a manager's team are making progress with their goals and they align it to his goal, then the manager will get progress in their goal as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so then at the very bottom, where individuals work, they have their own goals, business goals, I guess, and then they also have personal goals. For example, let's say I want to learn more about, I don't know, neural networks or whatever, right? It could be also like a personal development goal, which should be related to one of the business goals, but can be like a separate goal, right?
Exactly.
How does it in practice look like? What's the fraction between like these business goals and individual self-development goals?
Yeah. So if you're lucky, you're able to achieve the development goals within the scope of your business work. And sometimes, it's not specifically have a complete overlap. And then you'll try to focus, 10% of your time in building those skills you're not able to build during your regular work day to day.
But I guess the business goals, they are more like improve this KPI by X%, or deliver this thing, or open a new flow, or whatever, like index this amount of documents. So they are business related goals with business metrics attached to them. But what I was asking more about was like, okay, there are business goals. But now I open Twitter and I see all these things about large language models and all that, and I want to kind of learn all that because I feel like I'm missing out if I don't do that, which still can be connected to these goals, right? But probably I can have some individual goals that, okay, I want to learn that thing in order also to see how I can contribute the skills I built to one of the business goals, right?
Yes, you definitely got it. Yeah.
Okay.
And
And
I'm
then,
proud to say that in my team, the work we are doing is definitely relevant to large language models. So even if it's your developing goals, it might be something that you will actually work on.
that's cool when you work on NLP stuff, right? This is exactly what your group is doing. You work on NLP.
Yeah.
That's cool. And yeah, then you have these goals, and then every month you have some sort of checkup where you check, okay, like, am I progressing towards achieving these goals? Does each of these goals even make sense, or should we rethink them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's managing down, and I guess like when you look at this, how goals cascade down, it also makes sense, right? So they go all the way down to individuals. And yeah, what else? Did we forget about anything? Like you said, expectations for the team, feedback, recognition, growth opportunities. So we kind of covered all that, right? When it comes to managing down. Okay.
Yeah. This is a lot about the individuals in the team. There's also some aspects of team building where you want to make sure you have a good team spirit and team atmosphere. So you want to have a group meeting where there's a safe place to share things. You want to have those forums when an open discussion can be done. Some people run like a book club or a paper club where they review papers together. So you want to open up the space for learning. You want to make sure you make a place as a manager for innovation in your team. And indeed, it's really nice because we have a hackathon of the entire company twice a year. It's a 5 days hackathon, basically. It's called the Global Engineering Days. And I really like it because it's the 5 days in a year that I get to go back to actually be a hands-on engineer myself. But basically, it's just a few days where everyone play with whatever technology they like, solve whatever problems they want to have. So it's one way to encourage innovation. But I also try to do some work in encouraging innovation all the time. So finding the balance between working on deliveries as well as doing some long-term research within the team. So that's also a lot of the work on the manager. And of course, what we talked about, we need to set the vision and the roadmap for the team. So these are things that go in all directions, both above, sideways, and below. Plan for the team. There are so many aspects of management. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. And then the last thing, the last pillar is managing across, right? So I understand up. So like you have this hierarchy, you manage your managers. Then like the hierarchy goes down, right? So you manage your team. But what is across? Like, does it mean that in your case, for example, you're a group manager, you collaborate with other group managers, right? And this is the across part, or what does it mean?
So it will change from organization to organization. One thing would be the collaboration with other AI managers in the organization. This would be one aspect of that. But a lot of that is just working with product teams, because we are not a self-sufficient product team. So we are working cross-functionally with different product teams across the company. So working with them, I have my own product managers, which handles all of the collaborations with product team, because my team builds reusable services. These are used across many offerings at Intuit, different offerings of TurboTax, different offering of QuickBooks use our services. So we maintain relationship with a lot of teams. So this is also managing across, getting product requirements, translating those to the capabilities that the team is building, working, collaborating with the product teams when our services are going to production, communicating them to expected performance. When the services are in production, maintenance of those services. What is the support model we are building for those services? What is the maintenance model? So all of those things.
Mm-hmm. So it means we need to talk with, by product team, I guess you mean like engineers and product managers and everyone who, I don't know, not data scientists, not AI folks.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. And what kind of managing across do you need in this case? Like, how do you actually do this with them?
So it's a lot of expectation management, sharing our roadmap, communicating, what is the capabilities that we are building, how are they solving the problems from the customers, how are they achieving the business metrics, what they should expect from them. Even just explaining things like these are machine learning models. They are not perfect. They have some predicted amount of error. So we cannot review every error that they have in production. We want to focus at patterns, for example, things that are would require a retrain of the model or any further, more deeper change in the model. So all of that work, educating product teams on how does AI look like, what we can achieve, and what we cannot.
And I guess the main goal here for managing across is making sure that the product teams know how important is the stuff you work on. So they want to help you, they want to work with you, they want to integrate the models you build, because they know that these models contribute to the goals of the company, and they want to be a part of that. They also want to contribute to the goals of the company, right? Did I get it right?
Yeah, it's even deeper than that, because they come to us with their requests. So we have to explain to them how do we fulfill those requests with the solutions we build. So yeah.
Okay, so the ask comes from the product team. So they come to you, you discuss how exactly you can help. So you need to make sure that you set the expectations right, and this is the expectation management aspect you mentioned. Then you need to make sure that there are no unreasonable requests. So then you need to talk about education, so they know what is possible to achieve. And I guess it's also kind of related to expectation management. Right, and then based on that, you come up with a roadmap, you share this roadmap with them, and you start working, right? And then probably you also need to somehow let them know that how exactly you're progressing, what is the state you're in, so they know when exactly they can start integrating your solution, right?
Yeah, definitely. We try to meet with them regularly and discuss the progress and raise questions. We also have like joint Slack channels in which we can raise questions and get their questions about things. Yeah, I think that one important thing we kind of talked about but didn't is also we need to give, as AI leaders, we need to give product the perspective of what kind of problem is suitable for an AI solution and what not. So this is another aspect of our mutual work with product. And also I wanted to mention that it's not always requests coming from product in many cases, because we are the one who plays with the data, with the better understanding of the data of AI technologies. In many times we will push in the other direction and tell them, you have to adopt this will help the customers. So also making that case and making sure they integrate those solutions, build the right product experience to handle them.
Mm-hmm. So it's not only coming from them, it's not only the product teams come to you and say, hey, implement this, but you also know that if they add this feature or this capability, it will be better user experience, right? So you come to them with suggestions. Hey, this is what we can do. In our team, What do you think about this? Does it sound interesting? Do you want to integrate it in the future, and how exactly this integration will look like? Right. I see. So this is managing across. So managing up, managing your management, managing down is managing the team, managing across is managing the people you need to work with when you actually deliver your solutions, so the product teams. Anything else we forgot?
No.
Okay. Yeah, we have a few questions, so maybe I'll go and check these questions. So a question from Patrick is this: is there any major difference that you notice regarding management of data science teams versus usual business teams? So maybe you talk to your peers in management and you discuss that, okay, there are some differences in that.
Yeah, I think that everyone who has worked in an AI team knows that there's a lot more risk and a lot more unknowns when you are working on a project that is reliant on data. Because until you get into the data, explore it, play with it, you don't really know how relevant it is to actually solve the problem. And in some cases, the results just won't be good enough. So there are a lot more unknowns. And also, in many cases, things will pop up and will take more time than expected from various reasons. The technology is not suitable. There are certain aspects of data sensitivity or data security that you need to address in your work. Things that come from production, well, that's also true maybe for engineering teams, but sometimes we have things we need to maintain from production that interrupt the plans. So there are a lot of unknowns, I think, and it's hard to communicate that to product, and that's why it's important, as you said, Alexei, that we need to build a plan with the milestones and communicate that in advance. So I know that maybe when this role has started, being a data scientist, I would go and research for months, and then they will come up with something. So we really try to avoid that and try to have, rapid experimentation, rapid communication, and showing the progress and getting feedback, and try to deliver small parts as possible.
Yeah, yesterday we had another interview. It was about software engineering practices for machine learning. And the guest, Nadia, mentioned that it's quite difficult right now to merge the data science process, like how we deliver projects with data science, with traditional software engineering processes like, Scrum, Kanban, all that. So I'm wondering, how does the process look like for your case, for your teams? How do they work on, let's say you have an idea, a business or a product team comes to you with an idea. How does it typically look like from the beginning when you just start discussing this idea to actually deliver on this? I know it can be a talk on its own, but maybe you can briefly walk us through this.
Yeah, so actually my current team does work in Scrum teams.
The data science team.
Yeah, it's actually the team that I lead right now is a mix of data scientists and machine learning engineers, because we have the model part, but we have services we build on top of those models. So we have a lot of engineering work in our team, because it may be that one service will include multiple models that we merge together. So these are complex services. So yeah, there's our MLEs and data scientists in all three Scrum teams. They are all working together. They work in sprints, 2-week sprints, like the rest of the company. They do sprint planning. We do retrospective as a group. They try to size all of those tasks according to the amount of unknown they have in each of the tasks.
I was going to ask about that, because with the amount unknown in AI teams and data science teams, it's very different from software engineering teams, where it's a lot easier to scope the problem, to understand, okay, like this thing will take, 5 story points or whatever. right? In
Yeah.
data science, it's more difficult. So how do you handle that?
Yeah, so I think they're doing a really great job at that, but it's really hard. They try to break things to smaller points. I think that in the data science part, sometimes it will take longer than we expected, but they try to break it as much as possible. I don't have, any magic here, but it's mainly just think about how you can break things, what kind of milestones you can define for each of those stories. We do try when we start a project, when we start looking at a problem, we try to do to think about what would be the design first, kind of do a brainstorm on that. I would usually ask the data scientist working or the machine learning engineer to kind of do some exploration for a couple of weeks and then present some kind of a idea of what they think they're going to build, what they think they're going to do after they played a little bit with the data. And there's an opportunity there to show, the overall direction, discuss about the plan, about the anticipated impact, and what is the architecture we think we're going to build around this thing, and have a discussion about those things. So I think that, kind of try to plan ahead a little bit helps you break things down later.
Okay, so if there is an unknown, because you don't know how exactly this data looks like, if it's good or not. So what you do is one ML engineer or one data scientist just takes the entire sprint only to explore the data, right? Because you can say, we don't know yet, we need time to figure this out. And then they take the entire sprint to figure this out. And then they say, okay, this looks promising. And these are the tasks we need to do in order to, for the next steps.
Yeah, well, it doesn't really translate directly to task, but more I would expect, this is our overall type of solution I would look at. This is the type of architecture I would anticipate. And then, the more, and maybe it's not a task level, but maybe more of a story level thing. And then task would be breakdown, later, sprint by sprint.
Do you do some sort of grooming sessions when you actually break down things as a team together?
Yeah, so the Scrum team does that. I'm not very much involved in that, but they do.
So because you're a group manager, right? But the people who you manage, the manager, how you call them, frontline managers. So they are probably involved in these things, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So you have these grooming sessions, then you have estimation sessions when you, for each of or maybe it's the same session. I don't know how it works for you. So then for 2 weeks they work on a sprint, and then at the end they have a retrospective, right?
Yeah.
That's the process.
Yeah, and after they do this kind of a grooming or sizing session, I ask them to kind of share those results with me, and I review it, and ask questions, and see if there are things they think they missed. And also we have principal engineer that they also look at that and kind of review that feedback. Yeah.
Do you know any resources that talk about Scrum for data science? Because I'm really curious to see how this could be implemented.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure I do, unfortunately. I did the regular Scrum training for years, and we just tried to, adjust it to what works.
So it's internal expertise that you have.
Yeah. I think everyone should just experiment. And there might be some good resources out there because, other people have experimented and wrote things about it. Not something specific that I can recommend on.
Okay, another question from Patrick. What is, in your view, the most important skill for a manager in data science and machine learning?
Oh, wow. There are so many skills.
Well, maybe let's take top 3, if the most important one is too difficult to come up with.
So I think, I don't know if these are skills, but the 3 pillars I mentioned are the 3 things you need to focus at, like lead with a clear vision, drive winning results, build a high-performing team. So you need to try to do all of those things. And this is why it kind of leads me when I try to do my work.
It's more like strategy, like how exactly you manage, how exactly you lead. You follow this principle, like what does it actually mean to lead with a clean vision? This is about
clarity.
Clarity. So you know what exactly team will do in the next quarter, in the next year.
So having a vision of where you want the team to be in a year, what is the roadmap for this year? But it's also communicating, as we mentioned, both to leadership and both to the team, what is expected, what is going to happen, what's going to be the impact, all of those things. People would not have, ambiguities.
Mm-hmm. And then, lead with clear vision is the first one, and the other two, can you remind us?
Drive winning results.
Drive winning results. And this is about, again, setting expectations and then setting goals, or what
This
is
is about making sure we deliver with the highest quality and actually make impact for the business.
Mm-hmm.
So that's more of the tactics from my perspective. Like lead with a clear vision is more of a strategy, and drive winning results is more of the tactic, making sure that things work, that we execute with efficiency.
Yeah. So it's like if we talk about these large language models, they are fine, they are fun to play with, but also if we play with them, we also need to make sure that we're actually contributing to the business goals, right? It's not like we just have fun with whatever models. We're doing this because we want to have results, we want to have impact, right? And that's what this thing is about, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And then the last one is what?
Build a high-performing team.
Mm-hmm. And I think this is what we talked about when like setting goals and all that, right? So that each team member knows what exactly they should do.
Yeah. And, as we said, mentoring them, coaching them, giving them the growth opportunities they need. And if you want to focus at one skill that I think it's most important for me, I think is the growth mindset, which I also mentioned in my talk back then, because, there are so many skills, but the most important thing for me, at least, is to be able, as we started this in the beginning of this talk, that I was in the Air Force, and this is what I learned from them, the debrief culture. This is exactly what it is. Being always in the growth mode. When you get feedback, don't, be sad that you're not good at something. And why did he say this thing about me? I'm really trying. Well, this is all great, but, really understanding how feedback is a gift, and everything that you didn't do that well in the past is an opportunity to get better in the future, and kind of nailing down those areas and those things you need to do to grow and to be better.
And then I realized that our talk is called The Secret Sauce for Data Science Management. So what is the secret sauce? Is this a growth mindset?
That's maybe. I think that, all of the things we talked about, it's a lot about the growth mindset. It's a lot about internalizing those pillars of managements we talked about, and understanding, what is the strategy of you as a manager to handle those things in the organization you're in.
What does internalizing mean?
Well, I'm having a hard time to think about other words. Just, take it in, really believing in it, living by it. Yeah.
So doing it, basically implementing this.
Yeah, implementing it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Making it a belief, a value, something you go by. Yeah.
Then there is another question, which I know we don't have a lot of time, only 2 minutes. I don't know if you can answer this in 2 minutes. Maybe you can give us a very brief overview. So the question is that a lot of data science proof of concepts do not get productionized, and efforts are, air quote, wasted. How do you increase the chances of a POC being successful?
So it's a lot about understanding really deeply the customer problem you're trying to solve working with the product partner to understand how does the customer story look like, working with the customer if you can. We call it follow me home, actually looking at what the customer is doing, what you can improve, and trying to choose those problems to solve in which you have an opportunity to make an impact for the customer, and an opportunity to show that impact, this measurable impact. And then when you go and do that POC, try to define, okay, I want to get this metric from X to Y, and then try to show that you have achieved that. So I think it's much easier to make the case to get a POC to production if you've shown some business metric has moved due to that. And if you have an opportunity to do A/B testing, experimentation, to actually show it, combine it in the project for some fraction of the users, so that's really a great way to kind of push things to production in a gradual manner through rapid experimentation.
Mm-hmm. So, like summary, focus on solving the problem, right? If you do this and you show the impact on business metrics, the POC will be successful.
Right. Yeah, hopefully. And of course, a lot of communication with the product side, listen, try to see, how you can really help.
And maybe that's also the answer to the question earlier from Patrick, what is the most important skill? Maybe communication is the answer, because I see that it's a lot about talking. Like you need to talk with the team, you need to talk with management, you need to talk with product teams, you need to talk about understanding this customer problem. All of this involves talking, right? So you need to be quite good at this.
Yeah, you definitely need to be a good communicator. It's one important quality.
Okay, I think that's all we have time for today. So thanks a lot for joining us today, for sharing your experience. We will definitely link the talk, because I don't think we managed to cover most of this. I think we just talked about like the first couple of slides for most of the time, but I think that went really well. But we will link the talk. If there is anything else you want us to add, like maybe anything useful that you think that our listeners will enjoy, that on topic for this, please send us the links. And yeah, that's it. Thanks everyone for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you so much, Alexei. I do have a few blog posts I've written in the past about leading data science team, about how to streamline the development process of AI solutions. So I'm happy to share that into resources. Yeah.
Okay. Well, then have a great weekend, everyone. Goodbye.
You too. Bye-bye.